What's going on, guys? So the time right now is 11:57 p.m. and you guys requested a video on M2 versus M4. Some people might say this is just a random MacBook, so here is the system settings. The serial number is blurred out for obvious reasons. There's also an obvious reason why I have a sponsor for today's video, so let's give a shout out to Nobody. This will be shorter than my M1 comparison video, so long story short is there's not much difference between these two machines, and that segues into probably the most important topic, which is price. So from the prices that I've seen with M2 in the used market, it's just not that great of a value to get it over something like the M3 Air. The M3 Air can be picked up brand new for the price of a used M2 machine, and at the time of the recording, it's around $700 and $750. So unless you truly have a budget of just 750 bucks in the US, then by all means just get the M3 over a used M2. But if you can work an extra shift, not eat out for a week, or just get the $250 elsewhere, then get the M4 Air. I suppose this video is for people who have M2 and just want to know the differences between the two machines to see if it's worth the upgrade, which my answer is no. But if you're still curious, keep watching. I appreciate the watch time, or if you just enjoy hearing me talk. Now I'm gonna lump a lot of the categories together because believe it or not, these laptops really are pretty similar. So the M2 MacBook Air walked so the M4 MacBook Air could run. I think that's the same because I'm sure someone at Apple said that at one point or another during the MacBook 4 creation. Nearly identical in terms of all three categories, if I'm going to be completely honest. They're pretty superb in both of their designs because they're MacBooks, okay? They're made by Apple. If there's one thing Apple does pretty good, it's build quality and design. So it's that still unibody design form factor that we love by Apple. This is the sky blue color, but do keep in mind if it is in direct sunlight like my studio light, it looks pretty silver, but with no light, it does have a bit of blue in it. But design-wise, they both use the boxy design, and let me just go ahead and hop into the ports. So port-wise, nearly identical in how they look, but there are some technical differences. So for my technical people, we have USB-C 4 with Thunderbolt 3 capabilities on M2 versus just straight up Thunderbolt 4 capabilities. So what does that mean for my non-technical people? It just means that the M4 can push more displays than the M2 that played the non-pro chips from M1 all the way up to M3. So if you want to use two external displays with this laptop open, you got to go with the M4. But in terms of data transfer speeds, they're both offering 40 gigabits per second. They still offer MagSafe on both laptops as well, with fast charging and the headphone jack being on the other side. Honestly, like I said before, the ports look identical, but really the difference is Thunderbolt 3 versus Thunderbolt 4. But the main thing I would say here is that you can push more displays with M4 versus M3. Another important category is battery life. So in my testing from M1 all the way up to M4, they are all within the same margin by like 15 to 45 minutes. If you're doing simply light stuff and watching content, it's going to last you easily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you're a student, it's going to last you from 7 a.m. all the way up to 3 p.m. Although I don't know if you're going to be using your laptop continuously for X amount of hours. But the M4 is ever so slightly better. The displays are identical, and I'm just going to pause the video real quick because people keep asking me about the wallpapers that I have in this video. Any of my videos, there's an app called Wallpaper Engine on the macOS store. I think it's like $1 or $2. You might want to uncheck some stuff. There's some not safe for work stuff on there, mainly some questionable anime stuff. But if you avoid all that stuff, you get wallpapers like these. By the way, look at the time. It's 12:10 a.m. It's pretty late. But in all seriousness, that's where the wallpapers are. Going back to the displays themselves, if it's not broke, don't fix it, okay? We have 15 nits, 500 nits here on the M2. That's the same 500 nits on M4. Same P3 wide gamut that's on M2, that's on M4. Same aspect ratio, same resolution. Refresh rate is still 60 hertz on both machines. Apple needs a way for us to feel like we're not actually pros. We got to pay up a big pony up for that. But macOS does feel fluid and snappy, so it's essentially the same display. Now let's move on to the trackpad and keyboard, and I really can't believe I'm going to spend time talking about this, but I know some people are going to get into the weeds saying that, one trackpad is X amount bigger or smaller than the other one. And looking at them both, it's probably like 1%, maybe 2%, being generously between the difference of the overall trackpad size. Keyboard, if you really want to get into the weeds of it, right? Some of the fonts have changed from M4 compared to the other MacBook Air models, but it's all pretty much the same, guys, if we're really just going to boil it down. We have probably one of the best trackpads on a laptop in the industry paired with one of the best, I'm not going to say it's the best, but one of the best class-leading keyboards on a laptop as well, the Magic Keyboard, that has been the same from M2 all the way up to M4. And you're probably asking yourself at this point, when am I going to get into the differences? Well, Apple does have some differences between M2 and M4, saying that on the website, M2 has wide stereo speakers that was only definitively called out on the M2 model. You guys let me know which one sounds better. So this is a microphone and webcam test, and the first one that we're using is the M4. So one of the best features I would say is the center stage capability. So if I were to move over to the right, go down a bit, it's almost as if the camera has a gyroscope, but the laptop is completely stationary. So if you find this feature useful, I'd say probably for education purposes, especially if you're like talking to a board or something, maybe this center stage could be useful to you. But I think if you're primarily stationary, center stage is not really going to be that big of an issue for you. I see a lot of benefit from it personally whenever I use it. This does offer voice isolation, so you guys let me know how it sounds with disabled. Probably doesn't sound as good, but the point of this is to really mask the environment around you and really just focus on your voice. So even though it takes a hit, voice isolation is there if you're in like a public area, right? And you don't have things to suppress the outside noise. But this is going back to the regular voice camera. So yeah, once again, you guys let me know how it looks and sounds, and let's hop over to the M4, the M2 MacBook Air. Now we're on the M2 MacBook Air, and there's no center stage, so if I move over to the right, or it might be your left, right, nothing happens. But like I said, I think for the most part of the last like 50 years, people have been fine with a stationary camera and just sitting there and doing their work, right? But center stage is a nice benefit. It's more of a nice to have, not a must have. But yeah, you guys let me know how it looks and sounds. This still offers voice isolation, so do keep it that. I know that was like a marketing thing by Apple. It's not exclusive to M4. It is offered here on M2, so you guys let me know how it sounds. Once again, the purpose of this is to mask the environment noise around you when you don't have the equipment. But yeah, once again, you guys let me know how it looks and sounds. And I'd say from both cameras, when you squish down to a small box on a Zoom call or a Teams call, you're going to look pretty much identical. Now to talk about my favorite category, which is specs. Sarcasm, by the way. And I mean, it really comes down to M2 versus M4. And I'll have some benchmark charts up here, but the reality is for the target audience demographic of these laptops, you guys probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. The M4 is faster, okay, by some web tests that some people do. It performs better by 1 or 2 seconds, but once again, you guys don't have both of these machines in front of you. And don't get me wrong, the M4 processor is definitely one of the best upgrades we've had from Apple in a while, but that bar is already so high that you'll likely be satisfied with any M chip. Unless you intend a game, I would say just get a Windows laptop at this point. Now, laptop-wise, they both feel like a sturdy laptop. The M4 does feel hotter than my M2 machine, but I usually use a blanket or a pillow over my legs so I don't really notice the heat that comes off of these laptops. But for most people doing light browsing, opening up Excel documents and doing formulas and whatnot, you probably won't notice much of a difference between these two. If you're rendering videos that have a lot of intensive programs running all at once, you'll notice it'll be faster on M4, but it'll also be a little bit hotter on your thighs as well. So to wrap up this video, like I said before, it's going to be a pretty short video. You guys wanted the M2 versus M4. My recommendation is if you're on M2, just stay on M2. You don't need M4. If anything, you're looking to find a reason to upgrade instead of actually needing to upgrade. If you're a new buyer, and I can't believe I'm saying this, don't buy M2. Despite me saying get M4, if money truly is an issue, you are probably going to get better value when it comes to reselling this laptop and software support, and that is the M3 MacBook Air. And you can find it brand new, once again, for around the same price of a used M2 MacBook Air. And I would argue if money really is an issue, to just get this guy here, the M1 machine, because at that point you probably don't need all the fancy stuff on the M4 MacBook Air. You probably just need a laptop that can do work for you, and the M1 chip all the way up to M4 is going to be able to do it for you. So there's no reason to even look at the M4. And here we are once again talking about the M1 MacBook Air. The way I can sum this up is that the M2 is just a weird middle child right now, and it's because the M4 dropped for $999 for us regular people. That's $1,000, which made the price of M3 drop, which barely made the price of M2 drop, and the M1 dropped as well because it's just M1. But I think the reason being why the M2 is still expensive in the used market is because M2 came out at $1,200 and the M4 starts at $1,000 with better specs. So people probably think their M2 is worth more than what it is, but in my eyes, it just kind of seems obsolete at this point is in the used market. But if you're an existing owner, it's still a great laptop. And if you really want to buy used, I would say just wait a couple months for the used market to settle, because I really do think the price brand new of this M1, M4 MacBook Air, sorry guys, is influencing the prices of M2. But it's just going to take a little bit longer, because people asking $750 for this when you can pick up a brand new M3, you're absolutely crazy. So I think the prices of these two machines are actually going to drop a little bit lower in the month to come. That pretty much wraps up the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you got something informative out of it. And as always, guys, the way to think about this is the M4 is just a refresh of a refresh. My brain is done. I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. To sum it up, if you are really tight on money right now, just wait. Just wait in the used market. These laptops are going to drop in price. Trust me. And if they're all gone, I told you so. What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? What's going on, guys? So you request. What's going on, guys? So that's. What's going on, guys? For the prices that I've seen in the the M2 in the used market, it's just not got. I'm going to lump a lot of the categories that I have separated together, because these laptops really are pretty similar. So the M2 Air MacBook, why does that sound so weird? I would say macOS is super fluid, snappy, so it's essentially the same. Let me not say it's the same. I'm going to upset a large group of people.